Good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing? I hope you're doing great today. I know I posted a video yesterday, or day before yesterday, day before yesterday, I believe, about King James onlyism, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about the King James and how we got our Bible. People talk, well, there's verses missing in my Bible, things of that nature, and over this next series of weeks, I want to kind of address some of those things through TikTok videos. So what I want to say, what I want to talk about now is most people don't know that the King James Bible was not the first English translation of the Bible. It wasn't. Actually, the first English translation of the Bible was the Wycliffe Bible in 1382. It wasn't printed until 1848, and it wasn't in modern English. It was in something called Middle English, which is, we would not be able to read today. But the first modern English translation of the Bible was the Tyndale Bible in 1525. Um, Tyndale was a great man of God, who wanted the average person, the plowboy. He said every plowboy in England would have a Bible in his hand. That's the way he wanted it to be. There was the Coverdale Bible in 1535. There was the Matthews Bible in 1537. The Taverner's Bible in 1539. There was the Geneva Bible in 1557. This was one that was used a lot by the Puritans. Most of us know the Puritans. Then you had the Bishop's Bible in 1568. You had the Douay-Rheims Bible in 1582, which is more of a Catholic style Bible. Then, after the Douay-Rheims Bible was translated, there was the King James in 1611. Now, what's interesting about this is if you had today a 1611 King James Bible, you probably would not be able to read it very well. You could still read it. It would be a little more difficult. Words were spelled a little differently. Words were used differently. The definition of words have changed over the years. But what you'll notice is the King James that you may be holding in your hand is not a 1611 King James when it was originally translated. No, instead, what we have is a 1769 Blayney revision. This was one of the. There was other revisions in between this, but this is the one revision that was the last revision to be made, the King James Bible. So, if you have the King James, you more than likely have the 1769 Blayney revision. I thought that was so interesting to know because initially, when I first started studying all this years ago, I had no clue. I thought the King James was the only English translation they had, and then all these new ones started coming along and taking out verses and changing things up, and the devil was trying to deceive people, and I had no idea how we actually got our Bible. And it's so interesting, and I'm going to get more into how we got our Bible when I talk about some of the omissions, some of the verses that appear to be taken out. Which honestly, people are like, well, would you want a Bible that has been verses have been taken out? Well, no. Would you want a Bible that verses have been added in? No, you wouldn't. And there's good evidence that maybe those what we see as omissions in the newer versions were actually additions in the King James. But I'll get more into that later. Um, so here's my big thing. Here's my big point. Is at the end of the day, I believe God has preserved His Word over the years. And if you read the preface to the 1611 King James Bible, the translators wrote a preface in there, and they actually said in the preface that over time the language would change and there would need to be revisions so that we would still understand the Word of God. That's the whole purpose. And it's one of those things too. I always question myself too because um, some of my dear brothers that are King James. And again, let me say, if somebody's King James only, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. If you want to be King James only, that is fine. That doesn't bother me. And I look and I preach out of the King James Bible. I would never disrespect a brother. If he asked me to come preach at their church, I would not disrespect them by using another translation. I would never do anything like that. But unfortunately, in that movement, there is a lot of hatred. There is a lot of ill spirit, mean spirited, um, you know, talk. So that's sad, and it's not just in that movement; it's in other things too. Um, but biggest thing is I want to show you how God has awesomely preserved His Word over thousands of years, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So, just for the day, there's you a little nugget of the first few English translations of the Bible. So from here, we'll go on and do some more. I hope y'all have a phenomenal day, and may Christ get glory.